Grammy nominee Esperanza Spalding.
Oh, we gotta get the big one.
And teaching children how to read, next on Black Nouveau.
Good evening and welcome to this edition of Black Nouveau. I'm Milton, Dockery.
And I'm Faithe. We're glad you could join us. This week we'll talk with Teresa Rae Butler, author of Eat the Damn Cake anime and other urban novels.
We'll check in on the Cops and Kids program in Racine that helps kids learn how to read, and profile one of the Grammy nominees for Best New Artist.
But we begin with a profile of Alysa Stanton, the first African-American woman to be ordained a rabbi in the United States. The Women's Division of the Milwaukee Jewish Federation recently brought her to town to speak as part of their Racine project. Liddy Collins has more.
Judaism is a monotheistic religion. We are rooted in the Torah and the Tanakh, which are the acronyms for Torah, Nevi'im, and Ketuvim, the writings, the New Testament.
Meet Rabbi Alysa Stanton, the first African-American female rabbi in mainstream Judaism. A rabbi is a teacher and a spiritual leader of a Jewish congregation. Rabbi Stanton was in town to speak at the Jewish Community Center, a sight since the media showed few Jews of color.
But there are Jews of all different hues. There are Chinese Jews, Indian Jews, there's Moroccan Jews, there's all different kinds. Jews from the Abba Yedaya tribe, Beta Israel, the Ethiopian Jews. And so it's not a novelty, it's not something that is just suddenly happened. I've said I'm a new face that represents the diversity within our Judaism here in America. And in America, there are lots of Jews of color, of different hues. Not all are Ashkenazi, and not all are converts. People ask, was I born Jewish? And I say yes, just not to a Jewish womb, that I had to make it legal. And it took a while for me to come home. And so it wasn't like, a lot of people convert because they're dating someone or marrying someone or going to have children. I did not fit into any of those categories. It was a journey that started when I was a young child, and a journey that continues to this day. But this journey has been one of faith, and it continues to be one of faith. So when people look at me, I hope they are looking at B'Tselem Elohim, seeing a little glimpse of themselves and the image of God, and hope for a better future in God's light through me.
And she was hope for one woman.
On Shabbat, Erev Shabbat, we have neighbor night, and we're opening our doors to the community, for those who haven't experienced a Jewish service, to let them experience what it is like. And I was taking some things, because we have a small synagogue, and so I knew I would be away for a couple of days. I was taking some things in preparation for Friday. And I was getting ready to leave, and a little old woman drove up, and I said, "May I help you?" And she kind of looked at me and said, "Who are you?" And I said, "Rabbi Stanton." And she started to cry. And she said, "I'm a widow, and 19 years ago, I asked the rabbi, would there ever be a woman rabbi here? And he said, not in my lifetime, and here you are."
Rabbi Stanton's family was supportive of her journey.
My mom's Pentecostal, and she used to be the piano player for her church. My sister's a choir director. And the day I got my acceptance letter, my mother used to watch my little girl, and it was a church night, a choir rehearsal. And when I got through the doors, they all stood up and gave me a standing ovation. And to this day, it's been my family and my friends from all around the world that helped me become who I am today. And with the help of my God, they get part of who I am. I mean, I am a Jew, I will die a Jew. But the God I serve transcends religion. And my God does not know boundaries. It's man that puts division by religion. The way I choose to worship is as a Jew, but it's spirit to spirit that people connect. I mean, even in Genesis and Bereshit, it's the Ruach, the Spirit of God, flowed around in creating the earth. It said nothing about religion. And so, for those who know me and are in my inner circle and love me, they know it's a spirit to spirit thing. It's not a religion thing. And so that way I can go and be with people and commune with people of all different faith traditions and still be true in knowing who I am and the God that I serve.
The African American and the Jewish community were once friends, and there's a break.
There was a break in the 50s. But if we look at today and what's been going on the last 6 or 7 years, 10 years, 20 years, there's healing taking place. And I am hoping that not only I, but both communities. I am of both communities. I'm African American and Jewish. They are not mutually exclusive in my life. And that healing and understanding and compassion will continue to be the path of both sides.
For more than a decade, Cops and Kids has been an organization dedicated to helping children improve their reading skills. It is an international program that has its roots in my home city of Racine.
I do not like them here, there. I do not like them anywhere. I do not like Renee to him. I do not like them. Good job. Here we go. Could you in a
Helping
car,
kids
get
learn
them,
to read is the
them.
primary
Here
focus
they
of Cops and
are.
Kids.
I would not
Julia
put that
Weatherspoon
in
started
a
the program almost 2 decades ago.
Comprehension is a lot of the problems with children in schools. They don't understand what they read because comprehension is not something that can be taught to you. You have to practice. And a lot of our children don't have anything at home to practice with. There are no books at home. They go home and you think, well, why not? Books are very expensive to buy. And you say, well, the parents shouldn't have the kids if they can't give them books. But that's not the children's fault. They're here now.
The program takes students from kindergarten through middle school.
I think if we can give kids books, have them read, get their comprehension levels up where they can understand the test, they'll stay in school. A lot of kids act up in school because they don't understand the curriculum, they don't understand test day, they're not ready, so get in a fight, get kicked out of school, get in trouble, and then all of a sudden you look up and they're old and they're dropping out of school. What Cops and Kids does is it gives children confidence. It builds confidence in them to say, you can't read. We're like, we tutor them in reading. We tutor them in reading so that their confidence level goes up. If their confidence level goes up, then reading comes, math comes, science comes, all that comes, and attendance comes, because then their attendance goes through the roof at school. And that's what we notice. And at Cops and Kids, they're not allowed to tease each other. A lot of kids at school won't read because if they miss a word, kids laugh at them. Or they're raggedy, or they're tattered, or they're torn. And they won't read because they're afraid to make a mistake. And once you tease a child, you can some kids you can tease and tease and tease, but some children can only take one teasing and they won't read again. So what we do at Cops and Kids, we work on bullying. You cannot tease, if a child doesn't know a word, you help them with the word. You don't laugh at them, and that's a big part of reading. So we get them into reading, we give them lots of free books, and then we do a lot of read-arounds where they read together, they read out loud, they raise their hand. We have them practice raising their hand. Because there's a lot of children in school that know a lot. I was one of those kids. But because I was poor and tattered and torn, I wouldn't raise my hand because I didn't want to be called on, and I didn't want to go in front of the board because I didn't want the kids to laugh at me, and that's happening today. But a lot of us don't realize that.
You guys have a pretty strong reading curriculum here at the center. How did you develop that reading curriculum?
It was developed by retired teachers. We have real retired teachers that work for us, and all of our curriculum is developed by teachers in the district that were in the district.
How many do you have?
I have 3 3 on staff, and then we have teachers and doctors and whatnot that volunteer.
Julia began the program while a police officer. While responding to a 911 call, she found a warehouse full of books.
When I asked the chief if we could give the books out, once I put them in my trunk of my squad car, I would just drive up in my squad car in uniform, and I said, "You guys come here, I got books for you." And those kids would just swarm. And it was like, "We want this one, we want that one, we want this one." And then it got to the point, after doing that so long, it got to the point that children were actually chasing us down the street. They were chasing after police cars. "Do you have babysitter clubs? Do you have Barney in there? Do you have this? Do you have this?" And they were really chasing us down the street for the books.
We're going on a bear hunt. Oh, we gotta catch a big one. What a beautiful day.
The students really enjoy the program.
When I come here, we read a book to ourselves, and sometimes we read with another teacher, and then we work on grammar and vocabulary and stuff. And then we go upstairs and do IQ on the computers. It really improves what I learn, and it helps me outside of school and stuff.
Julia, what happens on a daily basis here at the center?
Well, during the day when there's school, the children are not allowed at Cops and Kids. We're an enrichment center for the school. We're not, if I don't go to school, I can go to Cops and Kids. We're not there for that. We're here to enrich them. So during the day, they're not allowed here. They have to go to school to come here. They have to go to school. And then they'll come after school. Now, the kids will start coming in between 4 and 4:15. They start coming into the center for the after-school program. And in that after-school program, the first thing we start off, we give them a snack, because they're hungry, so we give them a snack. And then they have a story. I read, we read books to them. The librarian reads them a story. I'll read them a story. The teacher reads them a story. They get a story time. Because when I grew up, I never had a book read to me at home. And I want to make sure that I change that they have books read to them someplace other than school. And then they have curriculum that's set for them. They have computer classes. We have a computer lab that actually was furnished by NBA Washington Wizards, Rae Butler, which was one of my children that I helped mentor when he was young. And so they have computer lessons and those kind of things here.
The program has become international with 70 chapters worldwide.
We've got quite a few chapters of Cops and Kids. We've got over 70 and counting. And we're in South Africa, Venezuela, the Philippines. And I just had a district attorney call me. She's going to start one in the Virgin Islands of St. Thomas.
Who is that?
One of the surprises among the recent Grammy nominations is that jazz musician Esperanza Spalding is nominated for Best New Artist. You may remember that our Bobby Drake interviewed her when she was in the area.
We gathered at the Kohler Arts Center in Sheboygan, Wisconsin to watch Esperanza Spalding, a double bass prodigy born and raised in Portland, Oregon, who entered the world of the working musician armed with only a single bass line at the age of 15. Having covered a myriad of experiences since then, we sat down with her to discuss her roles as a teacher, her mentors, her most important lesson, and her humble beginnings as a child that was homeschooled.
When did you pick up the bass? What was that like? You went from homeschooling to picking up the bass?
Well, I've been playing violin for about 10 years. And somehow I got a scholarship to this art school. I was 13 when I started. It was a high school. So I was too young, and the environment was just not what I was prepared for. If you've been homeschooled and you go into a high school setting, even though it was a small arts high school, it wasn't really my cup of tea.
In the process of all this, she almost quit, and then the school acquired a bass.
Somehow before I quit, they got a bass for some reason. I'm still not exactly sure. They just said they could supplement their music program that was next to non-existent with a bass. And I went in one day when I was skipping class, which I don't condone.
That's right.
Yeah, go to class. And I started playing it, and I loved it, and then I never really quit.
So what led you across the states then? How did you go from, the Portland music scene all the way over to Boston?
Well, I got a scholarship to Berkeley. I would have never
Excellent.
done anything. I don't know what I would have done, man. That like saved me. That saved my life.
This saving of her life came with her auditioning for the Berkeley Scholarship, and as they say, the rest is history.
Now, while you were out at Berkeley, was there anybody there that was like a mentor to you? Anybody that kept you, encouraged you, and helped you along? Or did you just like get to campus and you were the superstar because you were just
hilarious.
playing so long?
No, definitely not option B. I really am not a good student, and I have to admit that. Like I don't do well in academic settings as a student. I like to teach, but I don't like to be a student. So all my teachers kind of make fun of me, like I was never in class and I would never do what they told me to do. But I did. I just kind of was too stubborn to admit that they were helping me progress.
It was kind of on your own terms.
Yeah, but I really did have like John Lockwood and Ron Makdi and Bruce Gertz. Those were three of my bass teachers, and they were really amazing. And Hal Crook. There were a few teachers that, just by their musicianship on their own, just being present and how they think about music and how they play and approach it, was really beneficial, even though I wasn't really in the academic world. But then getting gigs like to play with Patty, and also I got to play with Joe Lovano later on in my years there, and those, they open your eyes because you're working with professionals, seeing how everything that you're trying to learn in school, they're trying to get you to learn, applies right there in the real context. So that was definitely helpful.
Esperanza Spalding's biggest personal lesson comes from music in general, especially from a position like the bass, and that is, you really have to be accommodating.
You have to, all your ego and all your I know what to do has to just totally go away. And at the same time, you have to have the self-awareness to be consistent and stable and steady. So it's like fearlessness coupled with kind of passiveness, and it's like a very responsive instrument. So you're responsible for keeping on the rhythm, and you have a very predominant role. Everybody hears the bass. If you miss a note on the downbeat or whatever, everybody hears it. Yet your role harmonically and rhythmically, like you have to be very adaptable. So piano player might play a phrase or imply a phrase or start to do this reharmonization, and at the drop of a hat, it doesn't matter what you were planning on doing. That's what you have to do.
Esperanza Spalding, whether performing or touring, can be reached at her website, esperanzaspalding.com.
But definitely go to esperanzaspalding.com.
That's it, esperanzaspalding.com.
Eat the Damn Cake Anime is a line from the film What's Love Got to Do with It? It's also the title of the latest book by Milwaukee urban writer Teresa Rae Butler, and she joins us now on Black Nouveau. Welcome, Teresa.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. How did you come to write this book, a title, Eat the Damn Cake Anime?
Well, it started going here. I'm here for graphic design, and I park up the street on State Street, and I pass the Mission. And seeing a lot of people, going to the Mission inspired a lot of characters in the book, especially when I did a story, because I write for the Times, for Earth Day, Going Green. And it just kind of wrapped it all up with a another group of people that I see here a lot of the older generation are attending school now. So I thought, hey, it'd be fun to write a story about an older lady that has to attend MATC to brush up on courses in life.
So here is MATC, and that's part of the backdrop, is in your student here.
Yes.
You being a student here, did that have a lot to do with you using MATC in the book?
Yes, because like I said, it's just the people, passing them every day, it kind of tied the story together. And being in graphic design, I had a chance to design the cover, and I actually dreamt the cover, you know, kind of make it look like a cake box. And the character, the title itself is due to a recipe. When she goes to this Earth camp, everybody discovers, all the characters discover their calling, and hers is cooking. So her top scotch recipe is her damn cake. It's so good when you eat it, they're like, damn. So eat the damn cake, anime.
Is there any drama in the book?
There are elements of drama. Things like real places in Milwaukee. 27th Street holds a lot of concerns for our youth, and some of the homeless are there too. There's elements of hints to homelessness in the characters of the book. The drama basically is about finding yourself and finding a way over the recession.
Any specific incident that you were involved in, that you experienced, that's part of the book?
Registration lines being really long, that's about it.
a shout out to administration to do something about the long lines for you. That's a clever way to get your point across. How long have you been writing?
Novels since 2005.
Okay, you say since 2005 you've been writing novels, but have you been doing other forms of writing?
Yeah, I was always writing to some degree. Poetry, music. I used to be in a local group here in Milwaukee. Always, since when I look back on my life, stumbling upon my bachelor's degree of science at Springfield College, we had to do a lot of dissertation papers that were really, dissertation papers, they were really, really long, and I just discovered that I like to write. And when I look back on my life, it was always there, some kind of way.
So where do you go from here?
Well, my next endeavor is Cream City Classical magazine that I'm working on, home of the $5 ad, and a radio show in conjunction with that. Our first big story is on Jewel Curry, part owner of 502, and that issue is coming out next month for the Happy New Year edition.
Are you working on any other books?
Yes, I have a couple of follow-ups to several novels that I have out already. So the next novel that I anticipate on releasing is Glitter, Guns, and Butter Part 2, Break Bread. So,
can you give us just a little snippet of what that could be about?
It's true urban fiction, so it's a little gritty. The story originates a dirty preacher laundering dope money from the church, but the woman he fell in love with was really a man. So all that drama comes out, and now we find out who the real boss shot caller is, and we're going to find out that everything was going to be boiled down to the glory of God, because you just don't play with God.
Let me ask you this. Where do you get the ideas to do all of these books? Are these just experiences that you see as you're a student at MATC, you know, going through different places throughout the city? How do you decide what you want to write on?
It's like a burning passion coming from another place. So if an idea really taps me on the shoulder and it won't leave, then I will generate it and I will produce something from it. And then I will just go along with the flow and pull things, you know, like maybe you inspire me with your wonderful necklace. I mean, it's glowing, and I might write that into some scene. I just pick things from walking through life.
Eat the Damn Cake anime. Where can we get a copy?
Well, I'll be happy to report that Barnes & Noble did pick this title up. I am now a distributor as well as a publishing company owner. They accepted me, and this is the first title that I am currently waiting for them to make their first real purchase order, no middleman, so I am legit.
You're a very busy young woman, and I think that all the things that you're doing are absolutely awesome, and they're perfect examples. A publisher, as I said earlier, a writer, an author, a radio host, soon to be. I want to thank you for joining us on Black Nouveau, Teresa.
Thank you for having me.
And that wraps up this edition of Black Nouveau.
Remember, in the coming week, Do something to expand your world. Good night.
Good night.